What's happening, folks? Thanks for coming over to the DFS 5-pack to join us for some discussion on overlaydfs.com. We're going to run through today's basketball contest real quickly and hopefully do better than yesterday. Finished the game out in the 5-pick challenge, so that wasn't not what I was looking for.
Well, it's probably better than I did, who was not good in the MLB tournament. So let's have a better day today.
All right, guys. I just want to reiterate that they offer something called the Slump Buster Challenge. And essentially what that is we kind of broke it down on the other video. If you were to enter this $22 MLB progressive one, which has got the jackpot at over 4,000, let's say you play 20 times, could be 20 days in a row, or it could be, twice a day or something like that. However it breaks down. But if you play 20 times without finishing, in the top 10%, they will refund the entirety of your buy-ins, and you will not find that through any other website out there.
No, you will not.
All right. So today is going to be funky, less predictable than normal for a lot of reasons, but definitely reserve the right to change these up later. And as things stand right now, we'll do our best to kind of go through them, but things could obviously change right here. So we got Kawhi Leonard versus Nikola Jokic. And as of now, I'm under the impression the Clippers are going to play their guys. I don't know how many minutes, but I think they're going to be in there. Last game out, I don't know if you saw this, but Denver played all their main guys between 20 and 30 minutes, more like in the mid-20s, and Jokic was right in there with that one. So this is a tough one because I'm going to pick whatever guy plays more minutes. And while normally I would go with Jokic on that one, there's a lot of reasons to believe that's not true.
Yeah, definitely Kawhi for me for everything you just said. Definitely saw Jokic last game, and Denver has, and talk about deep teams, they're playing everyone right now also.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, they are a deep team, even with a couple of their guys out right now. I had been looking at Michael Porter Jr. this morning for like DK reasons, but he was another guy that only played mid-20s, and they could change that today. It could be less, it could be more. We don't know that for a fact, but that's kind of the theme of the NBA today. So as things stand, I picked Kawhi, but this one's got every opportunity of being off the board too, right? Because are you surprised at all if Kawhi doesn't even play today?
Not in the least.
Not in the least. All right, next up, Kyle Lowry versus Chris Paul. Lowry sat out last game. Chris Paul played. My gut tells me Kyle Lowry. Just a guess. Just nothing more than that. I know we just saw that Fantasy Labs announced Gallinari is not on the injury report. Shai is not on the injury report. So it sounds like those guys are at least going to play.
You give me Lowry here. Always has a little bit. Always plays Philly really hard, so I'll lean on that here.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the things I was thinking as well. So, all right, next up we got Buckets versus Adebayo. This is a tough one. This is always a tough one. Same team, so often they might be working under the same mantra. I'm going to go with Jimmy Butler since I talked about him on the DK video, but also because Bam's played every single game, and Butler's a guy, for me, I think they need to get him into basketball shape just a little extra because Miami's going to have themselves a series in round one. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I mean, on the flip side, Bam has younger legs, so, maybe they don't care as much about, monitoring him, but I'll still go with your premise, and I'll take Buckets with you.
It's nothing but a premise today, guys. That is it, too. So if you have a different premise, I'm on board with what you're thinking because this is far from an exact science today.
For sizzle.
All right, MPJ versus Pascal Siakam. This is another tough one. I also would like to know who plays for Philly today before making this decision, right? Like if Horford and Harris and all those guys are in there, maybe this game is a little bit more of a tune-up game for the playoffs. Now, if those guys are out, maybe Toronto barely plays their guy. It's hard to say. We are really trying to guess on minutes today. I think my gut instinct is to play Michael Porter Jr., but I got to watch to see what Toronto's in and out today.
My gut is Pascal, so that's what I'm going to go with.
Okay. We will differ on this one. And again, if you asked us to make a pros and cons list and reasons why, it's not a very long list. You're looking for minutes.
Here's a question for you. If you are starting an NBA team, who would you rather have going forward, Porter or Siakam?
I like Pascal Siakam, but I would go with Michael Porter Jr. because if you asked me who is going to potentially be a superstar, I would say Michael Porter Jr. I think Siakam is going to be routinely a guy who makes the All-Star games, but he's never going to be in the MVP conversation. It's just my prediction. Whereas I think Michael Porter Jr. has high ceiling. Don't know if he'll get there. Like if I needed to, go play a game tomorrow, I would take Siakam. But I think Michael Porter Jr. has like superstar type of talent.
I agree. It's just there's something to be said for the consistency that Siakam brings, but we see that similarly.
Right? Like Porter Jr. has given us what, like 8 good NBA games? Like that's not a lot to go off of.
Yeah.
I just think that his ceiling is significantly higher. Like you're not going to win a title with Siakam as your number one ever, in my opinion. I think he's going to be very good, but Michael Porter Jr. could change your franchise potentially, or move backwards.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a much lower floor and a much higher ceiling. But you're right. Just because he's the guy that he's a wing that has the ball in his hands. Siakam's not that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Jamal Murray versus Robert Covington. This is another one. I kind of expect there's a chance Covington plays limited minutes today because he played yesterday. So give me Jamal Murray.
Yeah, give me Murray.
All right. Zubac versus Richardson. I will take the floor of Zubac right now because I think Horford and Harris and those guys will play today. Don't know for sure, but that's just my guess early.
What a game for Richardson last time out. I'm with you, though. I'll go Zubac.
All right. Shake Milton versus Norman Powell. If everybody from Toronto plays today, then I'll go with Shake Milton, who wasn't great yesterday. My boy Burks had a better day. Thank you, Burks. But that could flip-flop today. If there's a couple guys out for Toronto, then give me Norman Powell.
Yeah, and Powell has been playing well, coming off a really good game. So
I'll take a great game last time out.
Yeah, wait and see approach, but I'm with you on that assessment.
Kind of the same thing goes for Miami. Tyler Hero was a hero for a lot of us not too many games ago, but assuming Butler and everybody plays today, I'll take Dragic over Hero almost every time.
I will too, although this is the time to get weird because like you've got a rookie and then an older guy in Dragic. I'm not going to be shocked if they like give him more run.
For sure. I think you're going to see in the playoffs here how good Goran Dragic is. I think a lot of people kind of forgot that he's very good because he shifted to more of that six-man role. But come clutch playoff time, I don't think you're going to see a lot of none. You're going to see a lot of Dragic.
Agreed.
I can tell you right now that in the first DFS game, depending on pricing, like Dragic might be a guy that I lean on.
I get that 100%.
All right, Olynyk versus Marcus Morris Sr. I'm going to go with Marcus Morris Sr. Miami is moving back up to close to full strength, so as things go now. And I also think like the Clippers are playing a little bit of the smart game right here. Marcus Morris Sr. is a good basketball player. And when you play on a team like the Clippers where you got some really good basketball players in George and Kawhi, he didn't get a ton of time to feel comfortable with them, but they're really getting him into a lot of minutes for this Clippers team right now.
I think also Olynyk's questionable today. So regardless, I'm going to go Morris with you.
Yeah, this might be one I actually picked too.
I'm with it.
All right, Jay Crowder versus Reggie Jackson. Oh boy, probably Reggie. I think Pat Bab's out today, but I got to double check that.
I'm going to go Reggie also.
Okay, Ben McLemore versus OG Anunoby. You get penalized for missed shots right here. Eric Gordon's back today. No Russ. I need to look into this one further, but my gut tells me Anunoby.
My gut tells me McLemore. Man, Anunoby is one of these guys, like I'm not going to be surprised if he has 3 DK points or 35.
Yeah. It's a deep team in Toronto, and sometimes when you're not their top player and you're just not feeling it, other guys will be.
Mm-hmm.
Millsap versus Alec Burks. Burks was good for me yesterday on my good side. This is one I got to wait and see who Philly plays. I can't answer it. I don't trust Millsap to play a ton of minutes right now because, quite frankly, he's an older veteran player, but also very trustworthy. I don't think Denver looks at him as like, you're good, bro. We got you.
Yeah, I'm with you. Give me Burks here.
All right. Duncan Robinson versus Austin Rivers. No Russell Westbrook. I'll go with Austin Rivers.
Easy Rivers for me.
All right. This next one's easy for me, too, because I fully anticipate the guys from Indiana not playing. So this one might be my top one right now is Aaron Holiday over PJ Tucker.
Same.
All right. Gasol versus Monty Morris. I'm not picking this one. I have no opinion on this one.
My opinion changed seeing that Gary Harris is probably back. I'm going to go Gasol.
Did they announce he's probably back, or is that a website error?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
All right. Plumlee versus Eric Gordon. Give me Plumlee. If they're monitoring the minutes, I have to go back and look at what they played him last game, but without looking at that too closely, my gut would tell me Plumlee.
Same.
All right, I think this next one's off the board. So Glenn Robinson versus Andre Iguodala. I got to know who's in for Philly today. I mean, if Horford and Harris play, then Robinson's the guy who takes a hit.
These last two are the bottom of the barrel for sure. Doesn't mean that one of them, obviously, they count just as much as the other ones, though. But, with the OKC guys probably, and Muscala might not play. And then Craig, same situation.
Well, Adams and Noel are firmly listed as questionable right now. And if both of those dudes play, I have no interest in Muscala. If both of those guys are out, this one's easy for me. I go Mike Muscala.
Mm-hmm.
So wait and see. It's kind of the theme of NBA today, guys. We told you on the DK video. It's getting weird today. So prepare to get weird. It's going to be weird everywhere. Why would Overlay be any different than any other DFS site out there? It's going to be weird in the NBA everywhere today.
Ain't that the truth?
Possibly one of the oddest slates you'll ever play in NBA DFS.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's also made, even weirder by the bubble. And just, there are no fans at these games. So, that just changes how coaches look at things. Because if you've got a normal Houston versus Indiana game at the end of the season and, Westbrook's out, and I don't even know, let's say the game's in Houston. Not that it matters so much, but, a ton of people have spent a lot of money on those tickets. So maybe, Harden gets an extra 5 more minutes or whoever it is. I'm not saying that specifically, but it's just different now. That's all I'm saying.
The best comparison I can make, this is week 17 of the NFL. Only every single playoff spot has already been secured. There is no seating benefits. And all it is coaches out there being like, hey, maybe I'll do this, maybe I won't. I'm not going to tell you. You don't know if Baker Mayfield starting for your Browns today. They're like, oh, okay, cool. And then they pull him after the first drive or something like that. Or, Aaron Rodgers for my Packers or whatever it might be. You're guessing everywhere you go today unless we get firm reports, and we're not going to.
We're not going to. It's interesting. I think that the salary cap and players' price tags is more of a hindrance today than anything. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah, go out and get ugly today. TJ McConnell could outscore Jimmy Butler, 2 guys we brought up on the DK video, easily.
I mean, the backup, if Indiana has those guys out, the backup point guard for Indiana, the backup shooting guard for Indiana could play more minutes today than Jimmy Butler or whoever it is.
Right. And when you have the money, you still give me 20 minutes of James Harden over most people, and you're going to have the extra money to do that. But that doesn't mean he won't get outscored by other people.
Right.
Kyle O'Quinn, you keep mentioning, you kind of taught me into Kyle O'Quinn yesterday on DK, and he was a big help to finishing in the money. Kyle O'Quinn outscored Russell Westbrook yesterday. He outscored Joseph Nurkic. He outscored DeAndre Ayton. He outscored most of the field.
That just doesn't happen on normal NBA slates, man, because even if O'Quinn has that 40-point game or whatever, Westbrook has 55 and Nurkic has 50. That's the difference. It's not even how good O'Quinn was. It's that the other guys aren't playing.
Yeah. Last point, though. How much fun is it watching Damian Lillard right now? I know you're a huge Lillard fan. It is fun to watch him play at the current moment.
Man, I'd be scared to face them in the playoffs. And a lot of people are talking about how the Lakers just don't look good. And they don't look good.
Well, you keep bringing up, I trust LeBron to activate playoff LeBron. The problem is the rest of his team kind of stinks.
Yeah, and that's very concerning. And LeBron has gotten it done before with that. I mean, obviously he took a ton of cast teams far in the playoffs for that. The difference is the East was not as good as Portland in the first round would be one of the better opponents that he had to face in the East.
Oh, he's probably just sitting there. He's somehow hoping he somehow faces Memphis. It's a warm-up series. I talked about, one of the best things Milwaukee Bucks have going for them right now, and the Raptors, is you get a gimme series in round 1 where you truly get to warm up, care about every single game, have all of your players out there. You don't get that anywhere else in the NBA right now unless you somehow face the Grizzlies in round 1, who I have no trust in them doing anything. I'd be scared to play the Suns right now too, because the Suns are talented.
They are. I'm not as scared to face the Suns as I am the Blazers. And the other thing is, no home court advantage. The Lakers could easily go down in round 1. We talked about this a couple of days ago, but the more I think about it, the Blazers, obviously Davis and LeBron are maybe the top duo in the league, the two best players in that series. But like after that, Portland has like the next five best players, maybe.
Yeah, and at this point, who has any trust in Anthony Davis when it matters?
I don't.
I have zero trust for him when it matters, and none. Everybody, he's a top 5 player. He's a top 5 player. Like, man, he's talented as hell. He's wonderful defensively, and when he really cares or seems to like be assertive, but he seems passive at the wrong time. So
he does. I think he does have a lot of like Karl Anthony Towns in him. I think those guys are like more similar than a lot of people want to admit.
Sure. And I know you were a Towns fan for a long time, but watching him lately, you're like, man, this guy just doesn't have that killer instinct. There's no inner Jordan or Kobe in him. You know what I mean?
Well, at some point, and we talk about this, like if you're that good, like your team can't be that bad. Like,
yeah,
I get it. You don't have to win titles because only a couple teams win titles, but you cannot be like the worst team in the league if you're that good.
Exactly. So, anyways, guys, off the subject a little bit, but we like talking basketball. I'm excited for the playoffs, which will be here before we know it. Thanks for watching. Click that thumbs button, and we'll see you for some baseball in a bit.
Thanks, guys.